Hey guys, it's Israel again with Heavy Metal Reptiles. Today we are going to talk about cheap, expensive pets, specifically reptiles. So we're going to go over about three different reptiles that you can buy for pretty much dirt cheap, whether it be a pet store or a reptile expo or a breeder, that within a year will probably cost you over $1,000, but you're going to buy them for under $100. So the first one is veiled chameleons. So you can pick these guys up pretty much anywhere for 40 to 75 bucks. You can stay on my shoulder, just come around here so I can see a little better. You can close your eyes. You don't have to look in the light. So veiled chameleons, you can pick them up anywhere from $40 to $75. They come and they're pretty small, so you can get away with a cheap enclosure at first. 20 if you're lucky to probably 50, 60 bucks. You can get away with a small cube, maybe like a 1x1 by 2 will probably be a good kind of like a cube style enclosure. But you can get, that's just at first. When you start talking food and things, your enclosure for an adult can run you anywhere between $150 to $400, $500, because they definitely need that front opening terrarium style, and those always run you a little bit more expensive. Their food is a little bit more. They do eat insects, but apparently they eat a lot. I'm not an expert by any means when it comes to keeping a chameleon. I want one. I've done a lot of research, but I haven't done all my research yet to say I can get one. So I can't give you a whole lot of the informational stuff. They do need a UVB bulb, which if you have an animal that requires UVB and you're using UVB, those bulbs aren't cheap. The setups aren't bad. Your electric bill, though, you're going to see a small amount of fluctuation there, where it's using more electricity to run the UVB bulb. So, just things to think about with them guys. Like I said, they're cheap, dirt cheap, but you can be $1,000 in within no time. So now we're going to talk about specifically monitors in general. All of our you got this guy. You got this. You're a lizard. This is what you do. He wouldn't let go of my hand. So we're going to talk about monitors in general, but our stats are going to be pretty much based off of Savannah water monitors, because that is going to be your kind of main one you see in the pet stores, and you're going to see them a lot at your reptile shows, but you will see Nile monitors as another really easy one to find. Black throat monitors is one that's really easy to find. But this is also going to exclude kind of like your Ackie monitors and dwarf species of monitors, because theirs are a little bit different. They're still expensive, but they aren't as expensive as the stuff we're going to talk about. So right now at a pet store near you, especially near me, because I know for a fact, because I almost bought one the other day, you can buy a monitor this size. Literally, roughly this size. This is kind of like a hatchling size monitor size thing. So when you buy them, they're small. They're about 35 to 50 bucks probably is where you're going to be able to pick them up for, depending on where you go. I actually think our pet store here that has them is $60 right now, but he has everything overpriced. So either way, you're going to find them for over or under $100. If you're paying over $100, you're getting ripped off, because they're everywhere. I don't know why they're so easy to get and so readily available, but they are. And the biggest problem with that is the price goes down on them. And I say that because now you have the 10-year-old kid that sees this really cool lizard, and they're really cool, especially to like a 10-year-old boy. It's almost a Komodo dragon. So he goes to the zoo and sees a Komodo dragon and thinks he's buying one from the pet store. So the biggest problem is like I said, they start out this big, literally, and they get to be between 2 to 6 foot, depending on your species. And actually, that was something that I read online was 2 foot, and I think that's more directed towards your Ackie monitors and things, because they don't get the 6 foot mark. They're pretty small. Like I said, they're a dwarf species. So, but online it'll tell you that monitors will get between 2 and 6 foot. The majority of the time, your monitor's going to reach 4 to 6 feet, pretty easily and pretty quickly. So, with that being said, within the first year, you're going to have to build an enclosure, if not build, custom order, and that's going to be a big enclosure. So you're thinking, I think the minimal there, most people say 16 foot for a monitor enclosure long. Easy to achieve, except for you have to be 4 or 5 feet deep, because they need 4 to 5 feet of substrate to be able to burrow. They need water. To properly keep a water monitor, obviously you need water, but it's not like a bathing spot or a drinking hole. It needs to be something sufficient enough for that monitor to go down in, take a little dip in the pool, go swimming. They're active animals, very active and agile is the word I'm going to use. Very active as far as they move nonstop. Luckily, compared to another animal that we're going to talk about next, they don't go up as much, but they need that room, length, depth. So I'm going to say probably a 16 is what they want. I know is what they want lengthwise, but you're going to want at least 5 to 6 feet deep, and probably at least 8 foot high. And I say 8 foot high because at this point, when you're getting them everything you need, this is going to be a room at this point. So you're going to want to be able to step in there to be able to clean up and things. So that's kind of what you're thinking of as far as the enclosure. These guys also aren't your normal lizards. This guy eats insects. Our crested eats insects. The chameleon we talked about eats insects. You're going to be feeding these guys everything. Rats, mice. They can eat actual slug eggs. Like if you're a snake breeder and you have a bad egg, you can feed that to them. I mean, they're pretty much meat eaters. So how you feed your snake, 1 mouse a week or a rat every week or every other week, monitors are going to eat at least once a week. Some people feed 2 and 3 times a week. I don't know what the actual diet regimen for them is. I think it might be something where you're just kind of watching and making sure they're a healthy weight. But everything I've read says 2 times a week at least, or at most. So we'll assume that. We'll assume 2 times a week. A rat will cost you, we'll say, $5. Just because math's easy this way. So you would think $10 a week, but that's not true. You're probably looking at $15, $20, $30 a feed, because they're going to eat multiple rats. They aren't like ball pythons and boas and stuff where they eat one meal and run one rat and they're done. They're good for a week. They're going to eat multiple that feeding day. So you're talking, you could be spending $50 in one day just on its food. So in a year's span, when you start factoring in electricity, which some people say isn't bad, but a monitor needs around 100-degree basking spot. So you're running heat lamps 24/7. I would imagine, I think I run a 100-watt bulb for my 20 talls, my 29 talls that I have tanks, and that's so that the heat can reach down there. And for this guy, that keeps him, his basking spot is up there around 90 degrees. But that's for, you gonna go see your mom? Is that what you're doing? Trader. So that's what you're looking at as far as the basking spot. The wattage for that bulb is going to be a little bit bigger. Oh, come here. A little bit more than what, actually a lot more. Man, I don't know. Now that I'm actually thinking about that, that might be like a 200-watt bulb or more. I mean, you could be doing upgrades to your circuits in your house. I'm gonna get one of these things, and you're seeing the reason why I haven't is because I'm still working out my kinks and my plan. But you're talking, it could be over $100 a week in care for these guys. Times that by 52, that's $5,200 a year. So, and that can be within the first 2 years, because they're gonna reach a pretty decent size, around 3 foot probably in your first year or more, depending on feeding and space and things like that. So just kind of one of those to think about, because like I said, that I know 10 years old I wanted a monitor. It was a Komodo dragon. Who doesn't want a Komodo dragon? So like I said, just something to think about with those. We're going to go on to another one now. So now we're going to talk about iguanas. They're actually, for the most part, you're going to actually buy them a little bit bigger than this. About yay bigger, usually. Commonly. That's what I see in the stores around me, at least. Again, you could pick up an iguana for dirt cheap. $40, I think, is like the average going everywhere, besides the dude we buy from that jacks his prices up. You're talking $70 from him, and if they're a little bit older than $100 to $200 for them. But the iguanas, they are kind of the same problem as the monitors, except for your feeding bill is astronomical. They eat lettuce and all kinds of fruits and vegetables. I mean, they have such a wide variety of food, and they need a good diet. They need variety. Everything in their diet is crucial. So you've got to make sure you're researched up on that and getting those things. I'll have an iguana one day too. Don't get it wrong. I love these things. So I'm not trying to talk anybody out of any of these animals. I just want you guys to be prepared for this. So an iguana is semi-arboreal. They like to climb. I think they might be full arboreal. I think these people are insane, because all the iguanas I've ever seen and played with, they're always climbing. But they're semi-arboreal. So you're talking, as an adult, these guys achieve 6 feet. They need a 12-foot long enclosure. So where they're a little bit better to me than a monitor for someone who's looking for one is you could actually achieve and build this yourself. You could get its hot spot and everything, because I think, again, don't quote me, I think that iguanas are around normal household humidity levels, so 60 to 80%, I think. So you could have like a humidity box and stuff made up for them, and actually have like a chicken wire enclosure for them where they could climb and things. I've seen people do them. I don't want to talk too much about that because I'm not 100% sure on humidities and things. Yeah, so 70% humidity, my wife just showed me. About around 70% humidity, so that's pretty easily achievable within a household normal climate, So you could do like a chicken wire setup probably for them, and then have their hot spot ready to roll at 95 to 100 degrees is what they need for a basking spot or a hot spot. Overhead heat. Actually, I should have mentioned that with monitors too. They want overhead heat. So it's a little bit better for iguanas because you have a little bit more options. They don't need to be necessarily enclosed. I know I didn't talk any with the humidities and stuff with the monitors, but monitors are a more tropical lizard, so they're going to probably require a higher humidity. As far as your iguanas, though, you're kind of getting a little bit better achievable, I should say, setup with them as far as you can make theirs on your own. So for me, I regulate my whole animal room that stays around 80 degrees residual heat. So that would honestly be a perfect environment for an iguana. I could use, some 2x4s and plywood to make an enclosure. So his residual heat would be right there at that 80 degree mark where they like it, but with a hot spot or a basking spot, 95 to 100 under a lamp. And you can actually make their basking spot as close to the lamp as you need it if you're building the enclosure alone. Now you're still talking hundreds of dollars, probably $300 or $400 to build these enclosures, but it's seriously better than buying one that's custom built that you're going to have shipped to your house. I've seen them everywhere from $600-700 online to $4,000 plus. and they're cool enclosures, but it's just, there's a little bit of cheating room. And they don't require a big swimming hole like a monitor does. So that's kind of where they win me a little bit more, even though I'm going to own both of them eventually. They do win me a little bit because they don't need that big area to swim. So not only that, but I guess you could kind of even factor in your own cost to this too, where even with a monitor, which I didn't really want to talk about this because it's not a behavioral video, but they can actually take off fingers and you can lose fingers. It is possible. They can probably rip off an arm if they wanted to. Not to scare you, just to be aware. And then you got to factor in your medical bills for when you screw up and don't take care of your animal, and it lets you know about it. So there is that. And if you guys want to think about that, I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to scare you guys from them. It's just something to be aware of. I know what I'm getting into, and I know I want one. So it's the same thing for you guys, is to be aware. Once they hit a maturity level, you need to be in there working with them. But they do require a lot of care. Iguanas, I think, is the lizard even that they just get sick for no reason, almost whatever. So with all these guys too, you're going to want to factor in vet bills, medication costs, and special things like that. We actually might be taking Lilith to the vet because she's having a breathing issue. I feel like I'm kind of watching it. I just noticed it a little bit ago. So, even a more higher end animal that doesn't need these big enclosures and is pretty readily kept, I feel like. A lot of people have blue tongue skinks and don't have problems with them. We just got the one that has all the problems. So, that's just something to think about. Out of all this stuff that I told you about, you're always going to have to remember your cost for vet bills and emergency stuff like that, which can take your cost way through the roof. So we'll think that's all. So, just the normal send off. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Heavy Metal Reptiles. Like I said, Twitter is the handle's like @HeavyReptile, I think, to find it. I would like to get some people on that Facebook group. I don't think we have anybody on the Facebook group yet, so it'd be cool to get some people on there and start talking and checking out other people's setups and how they like their enclosure. And guess what, guys? I don't have any of those stupid group rules where you can't cuss and things. We just watch our mouth on YouTube because YouTube tells us to. So, I mean, you get to kind of be yourself and talk and discuss and argue back and forth if that's what you want to do. I mean, I feel like the context is the best way to learn for everybody. Like always, you got questions, send me a message, comment on the videos. I'll get to you guys as quick as I can. Like I said, I'm mainly on Instagram. I like Instagram for the pictures and things because I follow a bunch of other reptile keepers on there. So if you comment on Instagram, I'm more than likely going to see it almost within a half hour. YouTube, it might take me a little bit of time to get to you. And yeah, I guess we're still doing the rehoming thing, so if you want to message me about that, feel free. And see you guys in the next video.